Trigger warning. The following podcast contains content that may be deeply disturbing. You will hear first-hand accounts from parents and family members who have lost children to filicide, the murder of a child by a parent or caregiver. These stories are raw, emotional, and shared from the perspective of those who have lived them. They include details of unimaginable loss, system failures, and trauma. Please take care while listening. If at any point you need to pause, stop, or step away, we understand. Hello, and welcome back to Voices Against Filicide. I'm your host, Hooton, a mother who has walked this journey, and an advocate turning my pain into purpose. Today, I sit down with Kathryn Zook, a mother who has gone through the family court system, who is advocating, and who has pushed past her pain to make change. And today, I'm so lucky to sit down with her and talk about her story with you and what she has experienced. Thank you so much, Kathryn, for your time today and for being on Voices Against Filicide.
Thank you so much for having me on.
So, Kathryn, for our audience that has no idea who you are, can you explain a little bit about yourself and what brought you to the podcast today?
Yeah, so first, I'm a mother, and I have spent the last 17 years working in the mental health and substance abuse field as a chemical dependency counselor, hypnotherapist, and admissions director for a mental health program. So I understand trauma both from a clinical experience and also from lived experience. And I came across the podcast just searching for people who were talking about family court reform, and Voices Against Filicide really matters because I saw exactly how systems can overlook risk when it matters most.
Yes, exactly. As in my case with my children.
Yeah.
So can you go into a little bit of your story, or as much as you want to, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah. So where do I start here? It is a long story, which is why I wrote a book about it. But it started when I met my ex-husband, who was 9 years older than me. I was 20 years old when we met, so it was very young, naive. But we spent 6 years married, and it was a lot of gaslighting, lying, cheating, abuse at certain times, and mainly mental abuse, but it also did get physical at times. But when I left him, he used our son as a weapon against me. He used him basically as a pawn. And during the court custody hearings, from the very start, the court reframed my concerns and my documented patterns and called it high conflict. And that term has really become a catch-all phrase that coalesces the abuser with the victim. And it was like being re-traumatized all over again, having to face him in court and hand my child over to him after I knew what he was capable of. But besides all of that, there were also several conflicts of interest. And one of the main ones was when he decided to remarry a DA, a criminal DA, in the same courthouse where we were going for family court. She eventually became a judge. But during the time where we were going through all of these proceedings, my son was saying things that, really indicated that my ex was abusing him. And, sorry.
You're okay.
I'm going to try not to cry.
No. You're good.
So one of the more serious incidents was when my son was 3, and he had what looked like a belt buckle mark on his back and welts on his back. And I took him to the doctor, and he told the doctor that, daddy hit him with a belt. And even though we reported it, his wife at the time was a criminal DA. So even though it was reported, it's not up to the police to make charges stick. It's up to the prosecutor. And she was the prosecutor. And so there are several instances where things had to be reported, and all she really had to do was let it quietly disappear. And I had reported this to her superiors, and they just didn't do anything about it. They just treated me like I was a scorned ex-wife, and that I was, just trying to be vindictive. And then when it came to CPS, they didn't do anything because they had to see that there were charges filed, and charges would never be filed. So we were really just stuck in this horrible situation for years. And then because she was so tied into the courthouse, our family law judge also made unfair judgments. And it was to the point where I was paying for everything. I was doing all of the driving. He got to make all of the decisions for our son. And I just had to watch my son suffer. He had behavioral issues. He was, we had to have him on a 504 plan for school. He got kicked out of daycare because he, hit the daycare worker. He was really suffering. And they just blamed it on me and made me look like I was crazy. So that went on for years and years and years. And finally, when my son turned 11, he just said no more. He's like, I'm not doing this anymore. He told police, I'm scared of my dad. I'm not going back. And finally, at that point, his dad was just like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. Take him. And that's what it had to come to. And no child should have to get to that point where he just has to stand up for himself and say, I'm not doing this anymore. So that's what I want to bring awareness to is, how bad things can get within the court system. And, really children should never have to stand up for themselves like that. Adults should protect them.
Exactly. Yes. And do you see a difference now with behavior, with how he interacts with you, as far as have those things dissipated since now I'm assuming he's with you?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we were able to finally get him into a trauma therapist. So he's done a lot of trauma work. And I mean, he is getting straight A's now. He's on the honor roll. He plays like 2 different instruments. He is like super smart, very well balanced. But it was work to get him there. He was learning these abusive behaviors, and thankfully he was able to unlearn them, but it was really hard for him.
I'm so sorry that you went through that. Like, every time I hear these stories, even though I've went through the worst possible thing myself, it still makes me so angry, because it's happening over and over and over and over again, and it shouldn't be. Can I ask what state this was in?
So this is in California.
California. Okay. So, like we say to our audience all the time, it's not just, a Michigan thing or Arizona. It's every single state has things that happen, have gaps within the system, people that use those gaps for their advantage. And so that's why I have this podcast. That's why I do the work that I do to hopefully close those gaps. So can I ask you, as far as your background, when you say that this is obviously something personal in your personal life, how has this impacted like your background, though, like your field of work moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, I feel like the trauma work that I do, I have so much more. I mean, not that I didn't have empathy for people, but I have so much empathy for people who have gone through abusive situations. And I mean, even on the admissions side, where I'm bringing people into treatment, just hearing their stories. I mean, I talk to women all the time who have gone through horrible divorce and custody battle situations, and it seems like whoever has the most money wins. And I mean, I was even to the point where, I was having to choose between food and paying for my family law attorney. Like, I was skin and bone going through this. I mean, I was making $12 an hour, and my ex-husband was, making $100,000 a year. And, it was just such an unfair balance. And I see so many people go through it. It's pretty insane.
Yes. And that should never happen. Like, you should not
No.
have to either pick whether you're going to eat tonight or pay your like attorney. Like, there's an imbalance there. That and also on that vein, you shouldn't have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars for these attorneys. No. Like, again, that's another area of our system that I don't agree with. But again, it's a huge mountain that we have to climb, so we got to take one step at a time.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, I mean, they told me at one point, they're like, you can do a custody evaluation. That'll cost you $20,000. And I just remember thinking, how can someone come up with $20,000 to fight for their child when their child is obviously being mistreated? It's just, yeah, it's insane.
So since all of this happened, and when did this happen? Like, how many years ago?
So it's started, the proceedings started about 10 years ago, so a little over a decade.
Okay. So since 10 years ago, from then till now, what are you doing differently as far as, like, obviously you're on here and you're advocating, you're sharing your story, but what has that impacted your life like moving forward? I know that you're having a book come out. Kind of share a little bit about that with us.
Yeah, so I did, I just finished my memoir. It's called Your Honor, Not My Son's Keeper. And it's not just a personal story, it's an examination of what happens when systems meant to protect children become procedural instead of responsive. And it also shows, what it looks like when people in power abuse their power. And I write from a couple of different perspectives. So, as a mother who's lived it, but also as a mental health professional who understands trauma, and then also as a deeply spiritual person, because at times, my connection to faith was my only tether to sanity.
Yeah, I get that, because that's a huge tether in my memoir. That's honestly like what keeps me going every day is my faith. Like, right. I tell everyone, especially at the beginning, they ask, how are you able to sit here today? How are you able to do what you do? And I said, it's because of my faith, because I know that Jesus has my children and they're safe with him in heaven. Yeah. And, I have to move forward because of them. And so that's a huge thing. So kind of, since you brought that up, can we talk a little bit about your faith and how that's shaped your perspective, I guess, throughout your life? Because here on the podcast, faith is huge in what I talk about. And so when guests kind of openly share that, I kind of dive deeper, if that's okay.
Yeah, no, I love that. I mean, yeah, definitely, having a connection with God when things felt extremely impossible, I would look to God and just kind of put it in his hands. And when people would tell me, well, his wife is a judge and you guys never have a way out, I'm like, no, God's got us.
Yeah.
And it was true. And yeah, I think when you're kind of at the bottom, the only place to go is up, and the only place to go is to, really look to God and know that you're divinely supported.
Yes, 100%. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Is there anything else that you would like to share as far as your story or your book? Where can our listeners find that?
Yeah, so it's going to be released here this month, and it'll be pretty much everywhere. Amazon, there'll be like an audiobook coming out too. But beyond that, I'm trying to do things like podcasts like this where I really am trying to build awareness about how to recognize red flags and support protective parents more effectively. it's not about blame. It's about, reform and education and prevention. And I would love to see a law in place that mandates trauma training for court evaluators and judges. I really think there needs to be something like that in place, because they take 2 seconds to look through these cases and just get you in and out. It's like an assembly line, and they really need to take it more seriously because they're shaping tiny lives.
Yes.
Like, there are tiny humans that are involved here. So
would you want to spearhead that? Do you have any experience with legislation, since you're passionate about that? It's kind of, in my perspective, it helps when you have a personal testimony to go along with your legislation. So is that something that you would like to do?
It is something I'm looking into currently. Yes, it's something I would like to do.
Awesome. And her book will be down in our show notes at the bottom of the podcast. So please go down there and click on that. And you can order your copy of her new book that's coming out. And I will definitely be reading it. As far as you talked about red flags that you want people to recognize in situations, in your opinion, what are some red flags that they can watch out for?
So just the coercive control, and when there's a documented pattern of behavior, being able to see that, because it was obvious that his behavior was narcissistic. I mean, I work in a field where, we have to learn about personality disorders, and it was very obvious that he had a personality disorder and that he was out to have control and destroy and, make things difficult for us. And so, there's signs.
Okay, good. Yeah, those are really important. If you want to know more about coercive control and other signs, please go back to my previous episodes where we dive really deeper into those issues. And can I ask one last question? Is he no longer in his son's life at all?
He's no longer in his son's life at all. We haven't had any contact with him in it'll be almost a year, by the grace of God. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that your story ended on a positive note, because I think obviously in your situation, it could have gone a totally different direction.
I know.
And so I'm so happy that, your son is safe, that you have rebuilt this life for yourself and for him, and are still, successful in what you're doing and advocating and sharing your story. It's huge. And I guess the one thing that I can provide is make sure you give yourself grace every single day, because some days it's going to be hard and some days you're going to be perfectly fine. So I guess that's what I've learned, is to give myself plenty of grace.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the work that you do and for, getting the word out there.
You're welcome. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode of Voices Against Filicide. If you found it helpful and you would like to share it, please do so. Also, please leave a 5-star review and rating, either on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you're listening. And make sure that you tune in next time for our next episode. Thank you, and until next time, be safe.